is Rewired. I'm Jeff Cook.
I'm Katie Whitlock.
Katie, we're discussing stance, re-examining language. Love the hell out of our last conversation.
Agreed. It was fun.
It's go time.
I brought it up to like every single, now I say reactive, every single reactive person I know. I'm like, is this true for you? I had a whole conversation. We were, so my sister came home from New York City this weekend, and we went out to dinner, and we were out at a bar beforehand because Messi was playing soccer in Cincinnati. And my sister's a soccer player, so we went out to a sports bar to watch the game before we went to dinner. And I pulled my mom aside. I was like, I need to talk to you about being a 2 right now. And she was like, okay. So I made her tell me what it means to be a reactive feeler, like in the middle of this sports bar with everybody cheering and stuff. So anyway, it's come up a lot.
This is how I am at parties.
Yeah.
It's like I look for the person that I can drag into the corner
Exactly.
and talk about Enneagram.
Exactly. Will anybody come over and talk to me, please? Yeah.
That person looks susceptible.
Yeah, exactly.
The place that we're starting, and I assume it's what's giving you energy here, is that many of us have had the experience of hearing about stance and saying that term just doesn't hit me. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't resonate with me in the way that other stuff has. And yet on the other side, when people start describing stance, it's like, oh, I get this. Mm-hmm. And so last time, building on what you just said, we discussed 1s, 2s, and 6s last time, and terms like compliant and dependent. And these were very early terms, early being 1980s, when people began to see this as an element of the Enneagram. This time we're picking up with your triad. We're picking up with 3, 7s, and 8s. There are 4 primary descriptors for this triad, which I want to hit. But before we jump in, you got anything that you want to say?
I'll say I first learned this, I guess, is the aggressive stance. And then I very quickly learned, or aggressive and assertive were like 2 interchangeable things. I kind of learned it as first. And then I learned it as the independent stance. The first one that I ever learned was aggressive/assertive. I don't really remember. And then when I teach it now, I say independent. But I'll be interested to see if I change my mind at the end of this conversation.
That's where we're going. We're going with those 3 terms: aggressive, assertive, independent. And the very earliest was the moving against triad. And that also has some things that are just worth picking at. But big thing last time, and I thought this was really important, was stuff that as we were talking through the 1s, 2s, and 6s, we began to say, here are our metrics, our standards. This is how we're judging the terms. Whenever we are coming to a term and adopting a term, it has to exclusively describe the 3 types that we're speaking about and nobody else. Mm-hmm. And that needs to be kind of central. So last time we noted 3s can be dependent at some level, and 6s can be non-compliant at some level. These terms are not as helpful as we might wish, and so it's worth asking what other terms actually really lock down the big idea and don't bleed over into the other types.
Which is hard, actually. I see that it's not just stances, but a lot, whenever we're going to characterize anything on the Enneagram, like I'll say body types, we always use the word intuitive, right? A lot of other numbers feel very intuitive, right? And they might be talking about something different than the body intuition that we're talking about, but it's enough that we can't just only, we can't only use intuitive for 8, 9, and 1 because there are a lot of other people that would like to be able to call themselves intuitive, right? Maybe they're just intuiting something different. So I actually see it everywhere. We could maybe turn this into a whole series where we go and look at all the terms for everything. But there's a lot of stuff. And the biggest thing I see is that, yes, it describes these 3 numbers, but it also kind of describes other ones. And then that's not helpful, right?
So this brings up something that's really important, and this may be an overly long intro. Schewee wants to say that stance doesn't shift when you move into stress or security. That your stance always remains. When it comes to the center's intuition, I would want to say something to the extent of, yes, of course, we all have the 3 centers and receive the world. emotionally, intuitively, and thoughtfully, cognitively. But stance becomes kind of, at least if we go with Schewee for a second, stance becomes different. So with the centers, you are made up of head, heart, and body,
Right.
and receive the world through all three centers. One of them is dominant.
Yes.
So to say that a 3 can be intuitive would be true because you have a body and receive the world through your body. But your body isn't your dominant center. That would be something that would be specified.
Yeah.
Whereas stance arguably is different. That how we choose to engage the world, and we'll talk more about what stance is here in a second, but how we choose to engage the world may be a pattern that is exclusive to each of the three triads,
Yes.
sets of triads.
I understand what you're saying. And I agree. I don't think you can get outside of part of your stance is your reference point, right? Internal, external, or
Correct. Yep.
independent. And I don't think you can get out of that. I think you can take a minute to understand that other people have different reference points and to maybe picture what that would be like. But I really think you really can't get out of it. At least in my own life, like I've never really been able to truly have an external reference point like I know 1, 2s, and 6s do, or an internal one like 4, 5s, and 9s. I've never been able to put myself fully in that position.
I'm not going to go down that road, but for those interested, Schewee and I had a long discussion about this in the mistyping conversation we had just last month. So if you're interested, I have the intuition that I do move into withdrawn internal processing of stuff, but that's just I don't have any reasons to think that's uniform across the types. So I thought a lot of our language as we talked was just, well, I experienced this.
Yeah.
And she goes, well, I don't.
Right.
And I'm like,
Okay,
then.
great. Do you? Okay, I know we just said we're going to go down the road, but just very quickly, because this is
do it.
Stance is our social style. It's how we get what we want, right? It's our strategy. So you said maybe you process things internally, but when you go back to how am I going to get what I want, is it withdrawn, or do you go back to being reactive?
So moving into stress, I feel as though I pick up a lot of the internal wrestling that 4s have when I'm stressed. And I withdraw from the front lines and do a lot more business inside. When the proper function of the stress move is to get me back to center. So this would make sense that I would step away for a minute, do a lot of internal work, get myself situated, feeling good about myself. What's mine to do? Who are you in the world? Ask all the questions about my emotional life, and then say, okay, it's time to act again.
Yeah.
And I get back into that space of one space where I am reactively earning what I want in the world. I feel like that's what happens.
I agree with you. I think my point is you're not engaging social strategy until you're back in 1. I hear, at least. All your 4-ness is just internal stuff, which is what that is. But anyway, this is a different conversation. But that's all I'll say about that. That's all I'll say. Is it seems to me to actually get what you want, again, you have to get back into 1, which is reactive. So we can have that. We can have a whole conversation about that later. But
worthy topic. And this is, to just, dear listener, the bulk of my third book is going to be of this sort, where it's, how do the stress and security moves work, and what's actually taking place when we go here, go there, use tools. There's so much to say here. So I would be thrilled to pick your brain on this because I still need research.
Let's do it. I would love to talk about it.
To say. Another thing that you and I noted, incredibly important, is we know that in coming to terms, stance cannot be exclusively about behavior. This was something early on that it is about behavior. So we'll talk about Karen Horney in a minute and how each of the stances work, but her stuff is almost exclusively about how people engage other people. This has been the biggest development in stance really in the last just few years, is that stance is also how we are interpreting, processing, wrestling with our experience. Stance has a huge effect on how we understand ourselves and the world around us. And so when we come to terms, stance can't be exclusively about behavior, and that's important, especially with some of the terms that we're going to look at today.
Mm-hmm. I think people get wrapped up in behavior with stance because I think stance is one of the first things you can read on somebody, with a few exceptions. I think 6s are a little weird there. 7s actually sometimes can be a little weird there, but for the most part, I do think stance is one of the first, at least for me, stance is one of the first things I pick up about somebody. And that's all behavior, right? Because if it's the first thing you're picking up, you don't know that person's motivation. You don't know them well enough. All you're seeing is behavior. And so I think it's very easy to get stuck or just to stop at behavior when we talk about stance. But I think it's such an important idea. And it's like, I was taught by Suzanne Stabile, if you don't do anything with the Enneagram other than stance, like that's okay. Like if you're just going to do one thing in the Enneagram, it should be stance because it tells you you're a repressed center. And so I think it's really important that our term for stance also brings up that repressed center. It brings up why you're doing these things, all the things, because it's so important, I think. It's like the thing for me in the Enneagram.
Central. I think that's correct. Like when using the Enneagram in personal development, naming your unproductive repressed center is a great place to target early on, get that sucker moving, and that creates balance. And I share a lot of Stabile's book, Journey Toward Wholeness, which I went through just last night. It's all about balance. That's what she wants to target as the primary virtue that emerges when you really do great Enneagram work. Aside from empathy, she really likes empathy also. For us, in Around the Circle, we wrote that stance has a fourfold dynamic. That first, stance is first about where you make decisions. So prior to acting at all, stance comes into play. Are you making decisions from an independent place, an internal place, or an external place? These end up being reference points in Shewee's language. And in ours, it's the language of perch. What perch are you taking in order to make your decisions? But that's first and primary, and it's not about behavior at that point because you haven't done anything. Second, stance is going to be about directing our full self toward pursuing our core motive, and it sets the pace, it sets the strategy. That was our language. And so that's where the assertive, withdrawn, earning kind of language can materialize. It's what begins to be seen. And so that just that second element is normally the target of the terms. But there's other stuff going on with stance. A third thing, we haven't mentioned it yet, is just the tools. So if you have a past orientation or future orientation or present orientation, these are all also about stance. What tools are you employing? So 4s, 5s, and 9s love to use past tools to get what they want. 3s, 7s, and 8s are already in the future solving problems. That is also an element of stance. And the fourth is what you brought up. It's your repressed center. And that is where stance really gets defined up front. And I think the repressed center is probably a great place to say this is, if we're putting forth terminology, repressed center may be the best place to start. And so that's where we went last time with why
reactive.
Why reactive is the best term is because it really brings in thinking repression into the lexicon.
Yeah.
What do you think there?
I don't know if I have any thoughts that aren't going to catapult us into the conversations.
Perfect.
I think that's great.
Big idea for me, and this is in a chunk of our book that got cut, but it's that really Enneagram type is much more like a funnel for experience than anything else. It's almost like the world is poured into you. It swishes and swirls through you and in you and out. And then it kicks out behavior and targets. And so much of stance describes what's going on inside of you. And so it's a big concept in my view. What's really interesting is and we're going to get into this, if you look at the history of Enneagram literature, stance is kind of a secondary topic, if not completely avoided. Subtypes is talked about a lot. Passions are talked about a lot. The centers are talked about a lot. But stance has got just a lot of, it's much more recent literature. So, excuse me. So we're on the front lines is what I'm saying. We're doing like real lifting, you and me.
I think Suzanne was, the person to say, I think this is really important. Because I learned from her, I did not know that other people didn't talk about stance very much. Because that's like all she talks about, right? That's not all she talks about. But so I said this already, but if you learn from Suzanne Stabile, she'll tell you stance is, she'll tell you stance is the most important thing to learn about yourself. And that was my first intro to the Enneagram. So I had no idea that other people, Riso Hudson, Chestnut, everybody else, of course they mention stance. They're masters of the Enneagram. I'm not going to say that they like don't know what it is, right? But what Jeff discovered when you were looking through all the literature, you said like people don't, it's not a forefront of how people talk about the Enneagram until you get to Suzanne's work. I think I have not done a literature review, so if that's wrong, sorry everybody, but that's what it seems to be. And Suzanne was the one to say this is how we should start looking at the Enneagram is through stance.
There it is. So I think we said this offline. You and I are part of the Stabile tree, as it were, and so it's just been a forefront topic, and it just isn't in the literature. So I did do the literature review. The set of folks I didn't get to, which I wanted to, was Hurley and Donson. But the really Riso and Hudson in their book Personality Types 1987, they're the ones that elevate it as an idea. What they do at the end of that book is they want to say, here's Enneagram theory and how it overlaps with a lot of the psychotherapy stuff, theories, and where there's real interesting overlaps. And the very first thing they do is point toward the work of Karen Horney, and they say, look, here's a very interesting way of coming to each of these types is how they are responding to other people. So we mentioned Horney in past work episode. Horney is a disciple of Freud. She says there's 3 types of people when coming to relationships. And this is going to be important as we get into 3, 7s, and 8s. But just as setup, she says that there are those who move away from other people. There are those who move toward other people. And then there are those who move against other people. And Riso and Hudson want to say, that's it. That's the key. If you look at the 3 centers, head, heart, and body, one type always embodies one of those 3. So for heart types, the 2s are the move toward people, the 3s are the move against people, and the 4s are the move away from people. And we can go through the stances in that way. And the word stance kind of comes out of that. It comes out of these Hornevian stances, or what some were calling instinctual stances. But this is where the term comes in. And I would love to ask her the question. It seems like Stabile grabbed this and said, look, here's the thing. I'm working with real people who want to grow with this material, and this has legs. I feel like that's what happened. And then she began really writing on it. Yeah. And I suppose that's what I see in the literature. So you got thoughts on that?
No, I guess I'm just like, maybe this is just because I was taught by Suzanne, so this is such an important thing to me, but it's like surprising that other people don't talk about it as much, I guess. Like the subtypes and I don't know. It just doesn't seem as important, you know? Like
Yeah.
stances, how do I get not better, but like how do I get better? Like subtypes, I feel like to me is just more categorization for yourself, right? Further and further and deeper into, you know, labels for yourself. And it's important to know, it's helpful to know, you know, do I get my energy from self-preservation, social or sexual, whatever. But stance is like almost all of my work that I've done on myself has been stance work. Like my life is better because I've worked on feeling repressed. You know what I mean? So it's surprising to me, I think, that no one else. I think it's a testament to how smart Suzanne is that she was able to recognize like, oh, this is the thing, right? But I'm like surprised that other people didn't recognize it. So
as you're talking, the thing that's standing out to me is how many of my pals who do a lot of work on the instincts and subtypes are actually in the head center. They are doing description and they're doing taxonomy is what they're doing. They're like, we need to categorize some folks. And one that I also come to the world, but I don't care about description as much as I do care about prescription. I want to do something with this material. So I think I gravitate likewise in the same way. Like yes, it's a map. What are you going to do with the map? Like where on the map do we want to go is primary for me. So going down these paths, I looked at the best book from the Dr. David Daniels, Helen Palmer School of Thought that the Stanford folks is Palmer's book. What is it? Enneagram, Love and Work, something like that. It's her work in 1995. She does 0 things on stance. I was shocked. The only thing that's in there is that she does want to describe how each of the types love, and it comes across stance adjacent. It's actually it's right up front, worth the price of the book to just look at these lists. But she says, for example, that 1s earn love, that 2s ensure the love they desire, that 6s question the love around them, or for 3s, 7s and 8s, 3s are going to win love. 7s feel entitled to love. 8s are going to express their love through protection. You can kind of see how stance is partially there. 4s are going to long for love. There's a little affect
groupie too. A little bit.
It does. And actually, that's where they went in terms of breaking up the triads, as opposed to going towards stance. Daniels and Palmer ended up really saying the most important set of triads are the affect groups and how we connect. So good catch there, by the way.
Thank you.
By the way, so you're not left out, the 4s are going to long for love in her view. 5s detach for love. 9s are going to merge with loved ones. It's a fun little list. She builds on all these, but this is where, just looking at the literature, when Stabile put out her book in 2021, which is Journey Toward Wholeness, it's the first time that she really did a deep dive into stance. I thought she was behind the curve. I was like this feels like you're just repeating stuff, and she wasn't.
Yeah, she was.
There's just nothing else in literature here, which also, so anyway, her well worth picking up Journey Toward Wholeness for this reason.
Yeah. Can I say something controversial that I'm scared to say?
Please.
Okay, I'm worried. I think that I know stance is the thing because when I talk to people, part of this, I want to preface this, part of this is because I learned from Suzanne, the way she talks about things is just familiar to me. So of course that is going to be at play here too. But when I talk to people who are under the like Chestnut Palmer, like that side of the Enneagram world, versus when I talk to people who are on the like Stabile Schewee part of the world, and I don't really want to be splitting it into 2 like that. It is really just this one thing that we're all working on. But do I want to say this? I'm going to say it and then tell me what you think. We can cut it if we want to. when I talk to these people who are so concerned about subtypes and all these other, and the numbers and the energies from all the numbers, and like where all the numbers you just front with one of them, it just feels so shallow is the word I want to use. That feels harsh. But that's what it feels like. It just feels like more and more description of yourself. And it doesn't mean anything. Versus when I talk to people who start from stance, the way that they talk about themselves is deeper. Like they have more of a grasp of themselves and who they are and why they're doing what they're doing. And just like I can't really explain it. I just have seen over my course of teaching this stuff, I can tell who you've learned from by how deep it feels. You know what I mean? Truly. And I bet it's because how much you engage with your stance or at least that's one of the big things that I'm picking up on is how well you know your stance and your repressed center.
I think that's altogether apt. I'll build on it. One of the most challenging things I've heard was from a real close friend of mine who's a 2 who was critical of some of our early podcasts. And she just said, you're just doing typology. As though like you're coming to the topic descriptively. And then it's kind of like, there's no movement there.
So
it's just, you're just describing people. Yeah. Okay, cool. Whereas I think you're spot on. Stance invites, when really embraced, it invites a different kind of question.
Yeah.
It invites you to see the place where you're lacking and where it's actually doing some damage. If you poke people there, you get to either say, I don't care about this material, or I care about the material and therefore I need to do some soul work, And
I think stance to me feels like now you know it and you don't have an excuse to do it anymore, right? Like now that you know you're thinking repressed, you don't get to walk around being so reactive all the time anymore. Like you have to work on it. Whereas sometimes the other side of it, where it's just typology and describing yourself, it just feels like it's adding more and more, like it's like adding layers onto you versus stripping away the layers to see what's really going on underneath. The Enneagram should feel like you're taking things off, right? It should not feel like you are putting things on. And I think that's the difference I see in people is like, is this a fun thing for me to tell about myself? Or is this really stripping away who I am and how I think about myself, right?
Do you know what the root word for personality comes from?
Person.
It does come from actually. Let me restate that. The concept for personality comes from I think it's a Greek term that just means mask, which I never relate to. One that I am. I feel like I'm just giving everybody all my honest self, but
I relate.
Like everybody else relates.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And so like I never use that term because it never hits me, but apparently that's a big thing. So the persona is the thing that you put upon your true authentic self. And that so much Enneagram literature kind of goes down that road of seeing your type as the mask that you place on yourself. I don't connect to that all the time, but I do understand what's going on. And I think you're spot on in terms of saying so much of real work is subtraction. Like if you actually want to do work on yourself, it probably looks like you got to amputate some stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Or diminish some stuff.
I feel less, but I feel cleaner, which is like a weird way to say it. Yeah. But that's how I feel compared to myself 5 years ago. I feel less, but I feel more me, Yeah. So.
Washing in and of itself is a subtraction.
Yeah, exactly. All the dirt.
Get rid of dirts and the oils and all the things. Too sweaty.
All right, shall we actually talk about through 7 and 8 now?
Can I do a boast?
Yes, go ahead.
First 3. I'm going to totally cut this probably, but I was so excited to see this because I think it's the case that TJ and I have done more on stance theory now than anyone else in print, because she did like Suzanne's stuff goes way more in depth into each of the types in stance. But in terms of theory, we spent 3 chapters on the theory behind stance in terms of time orientation, stance itself as a funnel, and repressed centers. And so
exciting.
Anyway, going through the literature, I was really excited to see that we may have contributed to the canon. Okay. 4 terms. I'll start with the most controversial up front and move from there. Starting with Karen Horney, she says that y'all 3 7s and 8s, you're the moving against people. I don't see anyone loving this. Yeah. But when you hear that, is there any truth in that we can name before we critique it?
So I guess I'll say 2 things. One, this might be true kind of like for 8s. That might be true, right? 8s like to be challenged. And so they might move against you to invite a challenge. 3s and 7s are not moving against you. Why would we do that? Right?
Exactly.
Why would we do that? The other thing I think that I have been told about this stance is that I think if you are not in this stance, it can feel like we are moving against you. That we have a vendetta against you and we are making decisions based off of you, but the opposite way, because you make reactions based off of other people, right? If you're a 1, 2, or 6, I'm mostly talking to 1, 2, or 6 here. So of course, if your reference point is external and you don't know anything about the Enneagram, you're going to assume you might assume everybody's making reactions based off of other people. And then when I go and do the opposite thing, that's going to feel like I'm moving against you, right? But my first point against this one is I don't think this brings up feeling repression, because I think feeling repression, here's my thing against. For me to move against you, I have to be thinking about you, right? And what that actually means is that you're determining what I do, because you have to make a move. And then to move against you, I have to make a move dependent on that, which is not what 3, 7, and 8s are doing, right? We are not thinking about you. We are feeling repressed. That's part of what feeling repression is. We aren't thinking about you, right? So against, if you really think about it, that's just another way to say dependent. It's just, We also have a directional term now, right? It's dependent, but it's the opposite way. But it's still dependent. Mm-hmm. So I think that, like, in and of itself, I think disqualifies moving against. What do you think? Both in behavior and motivation.
Yeah. Describes a lot of behavior, and I imagine how others can experience 3, 7s, and 8s at times. But as you're talking, it's not how 3, 7s, and 8s experience themselves, which I think is disqualifying for the term, for the idea. I love the image here that there are times where 3, 7s, and 8s feel as though they're moving against you, and they're not thinking about you at all.
No, other people feel like we're moving against them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not thinking about you.
So moving against other people implies that other people matter and that may not be the case.
Yeah. And I think it gets a little tricky with 3s because your opinion of me matters, but this is horrible, but you don't. Right? I don't want to lose your opinion of me, but like what you want out of this situation does not matter to me. So
yeah. Say it's the case. I have a question for you on that. Yeah. Say it's the case that you are a world famous actor and you want that little gold trophy. You want to stand on stage with the Oscar, and you need apparently the approval of whatever it is, the Motion
Board,
Picture
whatever.
Association are going to vote for you. Once you get the trophy, you're not thinking about those people at all, yeah?
No.
It's that
Go ahead.
you need to win them over in order to get the goal.
Yeah. And I don't care. Okay, this is very, very unhealthy 3, okay? I always feel like I need to say that. I think what confuses people about 3s and what makes people so upset about 3s is this. I care about your opinion of me, but your dreams and your wants and the way that you want the situation to go does not matter to me. Right? That's the difference. If I can somehow make all of this go my own way and I don't have to think about what you want and I don't have to stop to ask you, what do you want out of this? And somehow at the end of that, I did it smoothly enough that you still like me. Like, that's the main goal for a 3, right? I don't want to do that in such a jarring way that you like notice and that you don't like me, right? But I don't want to have to, I want to use the word compromise here, which I think is interesting. I don't want to have to compromise on what I want to also make this what you want. I want to make it what I want. And then I want you to like me for it. Which is crazy saying that out loud. But
we brought up affect groups before. This, what I hear there is like you have a clear sense of what the goal is.
Yeah.
And you would love to have other people on board.
Great.
Capable people that rise to the levels of your own ambitions. Mm-hmm. But the goal is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my goal is the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you get into, just to push for a second, if you get into security, does it become our goal?
I think when I get into security, I can, this is kind of answering your question. My goal becomes more malleable to be able to include what other people want, even if I wouldn't have thought it's important. But I value you, and I value that your ideas are different from mine, and I value what that can bring to the team. And so I will make room for what you think is important here, even if I don't agree. Right? I think that's what happens. So it's not that automatically my goal applies to everybody, right? I mean, that happens anyway. 6 is my goal becomes just one part of the bigger thing, right? We all can work together to create an amalgamation of what we all think the goal should be, right? If that's the word to use there.
It's a great juxtaposition with reactive types. The reactive types do not function like that at all. Reactive types are absolutely taking other people's goals, desires, wants into consideration because they're going to try. And, well, at least for me, I'm going to try and build it all together and say, okay, so this is what you want, this is what I want. Let's figure out how we knock them both out. You know, I'm going for win-win, not singular win. But I think this is a great description because it moves from 3s and goal seeking to 7, 8, and 8s are going to do the identical thing in terms of what is my will. What is it that I want most in this situation? So starting with 7s, like I've heard 7s over and again say, look, I'm going to invite you to the baseball game, but if you don't go, I'm going by myself.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm doing this thing. You can come if you want. And I would love for you to come, right?
Correct.
But I'm going.
Undeterred.
Yeah, undeterred. Because I've had 7s
There's a good term, by the way, to add to the mix. Undeterred.
That is a good one.
Stance.
I've had 7s tell me, this is something that a 7 told me that I was like, what? But they told me, they were like, I just never think that people will be mad at me for like going to do my own thing. Like if I just got up and left, it's never occurred to me that people would be mad at me for that, which I think is crazy. Like, of course people are going to be mad at you for that.
I can point to a handful of broken relationships that spin out of that.
Exactly. But I think that illustrates this point well, right? Like, I am not thinking about you. It's not that, like, I know this is going to make you mad and I don't care, I'm doing it anyway. it's like that did not occur to me in making this decision. Right?
Yes.
Your wants and feelings did not occur to me here.
Motive sought without consideration of others' feelings.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just going to be the primary there, yeah?
Yeah. Which sounds so horrible. But
it's just what you do last.
It's just, yeah, and it's like, I don't know why I'm feeling the need to defend it right now. I guess I don't really need to. That can be like neutral, right? Like I'm just making a decision and it's affecting me, so I'm going to think about me, right? It's not affecting other people. I'm not going to think about other people. When that is harmful is when it does directly affect other people and you haven't thought about them at all in making the decision.
What I hear is that we're describing, this is what, not unhealthy, but perhaps this is what immature 3-ness, 7-ness, and 8-ness look like.
Yeah.
Before you've actually started doing work, of course, this is how you come into the building. You entered in through the 3 door, and that means feelings come last. Mm-hmm. But this is exactly why you said it up front. This is why you do stance work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
That's why stance work matters.
That's a good point.
So,
and I see it
like that, like you don't want to live here.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to stay in that spot where your feelings don't matter because I love getting my goals and don't care at all about your feelings.
Yeah. And I think the thing, I'm really only talking from experience right now, and I'm not going to apply this to 7 and 8s because I think it's different. But because threes are weird. We're in the feeling triad, but we're feeling repressed, so that makes us weird, right? A lot of my work in early access, I'm talking to a lot of young 3s, and I have other young 3s in my life that I'm thinking about now, and I'm also thinking about myself before I did all this stuff, right? We would tell you that we do see other people as whole people, and we do think about other people, because I think admitting that we don't is horrible. But we don't. We're not. What we're really doing is thinking, how will this change this person's opinion of me? We're not actually caring about like that person's heart and like what they want, right? And we are not willing to change our life to give somebody else's heart what it wants, right? We're willing to also do that if we first can get what we want. But we're not willing to give up our own control over our own life in order to do something for you, which is something I admire about 1, 2s, and 6s, actually. That was confusing.
I think that becomes no. I think you're saying something profound, and I also think there are. And this is going to be a place for boundaries. 1s, 2s, and 6s often need more of the tools that you're actually saying. Like, we don't have the boundaries naturally. Everybody's problem is our problem. Because, of course, we're the only ones that can solve all the problems in the world.
Right, of course.
That haven't you seen the S on my chest?
Right.
That's how this works. Yeah. The 3s on the flip side, like I see 3s who will go to the mattresses for their family when something breaks.
Yeah.
Like, the goal be damned. Mm-hmm. So like people who 3s are actually close to, they are not in the position where they would say, I don't think about you at all.
Right. And there are,
for the most part.
I agree with that. I think that's one of those things where Enneagram can tell you a lot about yourself, but there are some moments where the Enneagram just flies out the window. And hopefully that's one of them, right? Like when your family is in trouble, you know, hopefully, yes, you would, do what you need to do. But when we're just kind of walking through our life, nobody's in danger. Things are going pretty well. I don't think we think about people as much as we think we do, or in the way that we think we do, that we would like to think that we do.
What I see is the 3s, generally in my experience, have an outrageous emotional intelligence to them. And it's filtered through, can this person help me?
Yeah. Do you think that makes, what do you mean by outrageous emotional intelligence? Because I hear that as like really, really high. I guess, how are we describing emotional intelligence? what does emotional intelligence mean? Does emotional intelligence just mean being able to read people? Because I do think 3s are good at that. Or does emotional intelligence mean caring about what we've read?
The former.
The former.
Yeah,
Okay, yes, I think I agree with you.
A lot of 3s, the rest of us see the facade that you're putting forward because it can be really thick, especially with people you just met.
Yeah.
But what we don't see is that underneath the facade is a supercomputer of ability to detect every little nuance in the person in front of you for where they have skills and where they're going to embarrass you.
Yeah.
And there is a metric at work and at play in terms of the posture of the 3 immediately toward, by the way, this isn't about Katie. I'm married to a 3.
No, that's okay. It is about me.
But it comes out of this space, it seems to me, in terms of like the idea that I don't care about you at all comes out of what you actually don't care about is those things that have like tipped into this is unbecoming. This will eventually make me look bad if I unite to it.
The things that are unuseful for me to know.
Yes, useful is a good word.
Yeah, I don't care about those parts. I do.
By the way, it's the high. There is a flip side to this that I live in joy with, is that one of the highest compliments I could get would be that you wanted to do a podcast with me. Because I assume that you can see far better than I can all of the ticks and puzzles and stuff that I kick forward. So I don't know that I have anything else to say about moving against, but that was a great little dive.
That was a little. I know that was kind of fun. Should we do?
Well, we should talk about 8s. We've spent a lot of time on 3s, a little bit on 7s, but 8s may be the ones who embody the moving against most cleanly and clearly. But I think there's reason.
And they don't do it all the time. You know what I mean? They don't do it all the time. Again, saying moving against implies that that person is seeing what you're doing and then making a choice based off of it to go the other way. And that is certainly not what 8s are doing, right? If they want to have a little fun with you, they might do that. But they're not. That's not what they're doing, right? They're not thinking about you.
I see 8s really honoring other people's autonomy. I think 8s routinely want other people to step up and get on their feet and showcase that they actually have something to contribute. This isn't moving against them.
No.
Like, the only place that I see 8s moving against is when somebody invades their small sphere of agency. And if you're in that space, then you should get punched in the mouth.
Yeah, right, exactly. Or the agency of, we say 8s are, they have a soft spot for the underdog. So I see 8s, but it's I still don't want to say moving against. It's just standing up for someone else, right? Like it's really not. It's really not that they're moving against you. I mean, I guess it is kind of, but what they're really doing is they're just standing up for someone else, which makes you feel like they're moving against you, but the motivation was over there, right? It's still not really about you.
They're elevating justice.
Yeah.
In situations and saying, look, if you're willing to violate justice in this space, that makes me unsafe. And so we're pushing back now.
I think that
before it gets out of control.
I think the only reason we say that 8s fit this better than 3s and 7s is because 8s are the only number that conflict energizes them, right? Everybody else kind of runs away from conflict in different ways. And so there are certain times in life where you will be against other people. That happens to everybody, right? All the other numbers try to get out of there as soon as possible, and 8s just don't. It's not like they wanted to find themselves there, but like, I'm here, and this is what's required. This is what is required of me. So sure, I'll move against you. But they didn't look for that, right? They weren't searching it out. Just because they're the only people willing to stand there for a little bit doesn't mean that that's what they're motivated by as a need to be against you, right? So. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Should we move to aggressive and assertive? Do you have any last thoughts on against?
I don't. Aggressive is the big term.
I know, aggressive is the big term.
What's interesting is how much pushback this got. And again, I was kind of in the circles of folks who were, because Stabile elevated this in the spaces she was elevating it, it was mostly from the threes that I heard a lot of pushback saying, look, this is not how we want to be described.
Yeah.
And so I would love to flip it to you. Does this word characterize how you come to the world?
I think this is one of those things where maybe like if we're just saying this with no connotation attached, it's like technically kind of true. Like, am I aggressively motivated to get what I want? Yes. I don't want people to experience me as aggressive though, right? Like almost all threes are going to tell you that. I don't want to be experienced as an aggressive person. That's very anti everything that I'm like trying to do, right? Mm-hmm. Because I looked up the definitions for the reactive episode, I looked up the definition for aggressive, and here it is.
Do it.
It's really bad. Ready or likely to attack or confront, characterized by or resulting from aggression. So I want to read that first part again. Ready or likely to attack or confront. I have never. A big problem in my life is that I don't confront people when I should because I want them to like me, right? So just immediately that doesn't apply. Sevens aren't ready or likely to attack or confront you. Absolutely not. Right. Why would they do that, right? Resulting from aggression. That's not true. One, I hope it's not true, and it's not true. You know what I mean? I am not likely to attack you. Maybe I would say the eights are like ready to confront you. And depending on their health level, I would say maybe like likely. But I'd also say that about sixes. I'd also say that about a counterphobic six, like likely to attack or confront you.
Ones will absolutely step in that space.
You know what I mean? More than a 3 or a 7 would.
Yep.
So based on our definition of this can only apply to these numbers and nobody else, this doesn't work. Right?
The building off that, one, I think that's entirely right. Building off that, here's what Riso and Hudson say in that first book and why I assume they are the ones choosing aggression in that first book in personality typing. They say threes aggression is the pursuit of their goal and in their competition with others. Sevens aggression is in engaging their environments and satisfying their appetites. Eights are aggressive in asserting themselves against others and their environment. For me, those sorts of terms fail in exactly the same way that compliant fails. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, yeah, it kind of works.
Yeah, when you say it in that very specific way, that's true.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
But that's like 10% of what that word means, you know?
Correct.
I think what they're really trying to say is we just have a lot of energy for the things we want, right? And also what this word is missing is that's really resulting from feeling repression. That energy results from feeling repression because we don't have to spend energy on you. We get to spend it all on what we want to do or feel or whatever, right? So I also think aggressive also to me, it almost feels like I do want to like an emotional reaction out of you, right? Which I don't.
Correct.
Right? So that doesn't feel feeling repressed enough for me. That feels very feeling. Right? I don't want to touch the feelings.
Now, here's where I'm going to complicate things for you. Is that one, Suzanne Stabile uses the term aggressive in her book.
Yeah.
That's her term for it as well. She adopts it from Riso and Hudson. The good thing about Stabile's book, which I hadn't seen until this morning, is that she has a subtitle to her chapter, which is Standing Independently, which made me laugh.
Yeah.
So she's going with the aggressive stance, but has that caveat. When she builds the philosophy of 3 7s and 8s. She says they have an unconscious desire to reshape people and situations. That's her grounding for the term aggressive. And she builds on that, saying they either avoid emotion or express their feelings directly. But I think you're correct in saying aggressive doesn't have anything to do with that. Yeah. So that's just a different kind of definition. But what do you think about reshaping people in situations?
Well, the first thing I'll say about Suzanne and aggressive, I hope she doesn't mind me saying this. I've been in the room with her when she has said, you know, there are actually some terms I like better. I have just been teaching this way for so long that, like, I can't change now, which I actually agree with her. You know, people know she has a very specific language that she uses with the Enneagram. And if she just switched 40 years in, people would be like, what?
Yeah.
So just a little insider information. I actually do know.
Paul McCartney gets up there and starts singing Let It Be, but the third verse is way different.
Right.
You're like, what
People
the hell?
Like, what the hell? Yeah, exactly. So I'm not bothered by her using aggressive because I know that she actually doesn't have anything against independent. I think.
Correct.
If she were here, I think that's what she would say. So that doesn't really bother me. The other one, though, shaping people is, I think, it's
There's
more true
there,
for some numbers. Well, is it?
If it's in your desire to move someone in front of you and it conforms with your motive, the idea that you can reshape another person is interesting.
Yeah, I think that, again, feeling repression, to want to shape another person, you have to not care about the shape that they want to be in, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
So I agree with that. Shaping people, shaping situations, shaping the environment, all the things. The sense of control that we think we have over our own life. We can shape anything into what we want, which means that you have to not value what other people would want themselves or the situation or the environment to be shaped like, because it's about what I want it to be shaped like. So I do agree with that part. I just wouldn't call that aggressive. I would call it a different word.
Which we'll get to in a second. It's again the case that this may very well be true of 3 7s and 8s. Entirely true of 1s, 2s, and perhaps 6s. That they want, maybe it's the unconscious desire. I have a very conscious desire that I want to reshape people in situations. Maybe the unconscious does a lot of the work here. But that doesn't make it, I don't know that I would call that aggressive.
No.
If it's bending on the idea of unconscious. And by the way, I'm trying to pull out the best of the philosophical claims in each of these texts. So I'm not just elevating one sentence and thinking it does all the work. Like this was where things hinged in the text for me. So
I want to, something I've heard Joey say, another word that's coming up for me here is controlling, right? And I've heard her say that she will tell you that she thinks 1, 2s, and 6s are the most controlling because you are externally referenced, right? And so you want to control everything outside of you so that you can stop reacting to it, right? Like if everything's the way you want, then you will get to stop reacting to it, right?
My motive is fulfilled.
Fulfilled, exactly. And so that sort of like aggressiveness, the controlling part of it, where you feel like someone's trying to control you, I actually think comes more from 1, 2s, and 6s than it comes from 3, 7, and 8s. There is a lot of overlap there. I'm not saying 3, 7, and 8s are not controlling, but I'm just saying, if we're using the word control, again, it has to only apply to 3, 7, and 8s, and that's not true. So, right?
Two big things I want to say here. One, I love that you said, look, in the room, she has said some of these terms, I've just been using them so long. It is high level grace in academic culture to say you get to change your mind.
Yeah.
And to start doing things like the people that I actually want to grow the most are the people who are on the front lines. Like I want the people who have the most power to say, look, I said this 5 years ago and I was completely wrong because now have really engaged the topic at a different level, and I need to pivot off it. I was wrong in this way. So too terminology. But I think that's a worthwhile thing to say, that like I don't want to pigeonhole somebody.
Right.
The other thing that keeps coming back to me as we're talking through this stance is the idea that I don't think about you at all is a way that this type is in the world. And the idea of reshaping people in situations, that can be true, but there's also another big part of 3, 7s, and 8s that actually is detached from, again, the feelings of a lot of people and their life experience. And that's not my business.
Yeah, and like I'll reshape you if you're in the way, but if you're not gonna like distract me. Like I feel like 1, 2s, and 6s walk around and their head gets turned by everything next to them, right? So that's where the controlling part comes from. I think 3, 7, and 8s are better at just walking ahead and not getting their head turned, right? So if something directly in front of me, I do want to shape it into what I want. But if something has nothing really to do with me and it's over there, I'm not going to turn around and look at it, right?
It makes me think of the documentary on Michael Jordan and the 1997 Chicago Bulls. He requires a team in order to get his will enacted in the world. Mm-hmm. And the man is aggressive in reshaping those other players. In terms of saying, this is the standard, you signed a contract, you saw the big red logo and who it was that was leading this team, and you decided to sign up. And now that you're here, we're doing it my way. And my way will be enacted in this room because this is the goal, the standard, and what we're going to do. And he beat people down in those practices, because here's the thing about 8s. They're going to tear you apart prior to the war. When you actually enter battle, the 8 needs to know how reliable you are, where you are weak, where you're going to make them vulnerable. And there's the reshaping. Yeah. Because I'm gonna elevate you best. In the best way to talk about it would be something like, I'm going to really expose the places in you that need to get shored up, built up, strengthened, so that we can all together win. Yeah. Not win, so that we can exert our will in the world.
I had an interview with an 8 the other day, and it just, sometimes when I do these interviews, somebody gives me something that just changes the way I talk about that number forever, like immediately. And she was an 8, and she just kept using the word, I just want to be challenged. It's not exactly how she said it, but I just want to be challenged. Like, I want my life to be challenging. And she had this example of when she was like in 5th grade or something. She got an A on an essay without trying at all. And she was mad at her teacher because she's like, you didn't give me anything to try on. Like, I know that this essay isn't that great. Like, challenge me, right? Like, tell me what I did wrong so I can do better. Yes. And just something, I mean, I've heard that word before with 8s, but just something about the way she said it made me be like, oh, that's what 8s are doing. That's what they're doing. Yep. And they want to challenge you too. So 8s can look at you.
It's reciprocal.
And they see which parts of you need to be challenged to get better, right? They see it immediately. And so that's what we feel when we're interacting with 8s, is that they're poking those buttons in us, right? But it's because they have a lot of energy for a lot of energy, right? Like, they just want to be challenged, and they want to challenge you as well. But that's not, they're not attacking you. That's different. You know, the aggressive part, attacking to me feels like I want to hurt you. And that is absolutely not what 8s are doing, unless they are. But I think that's rarer than we think it is.
It'll hurt you if you're a threat and make them feel exposed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they'll throw punches in a way that targets what they need to in order to get you back.
Yeah. And again, it's not, even then, it's not about you. It's about like the thing you did. It's not
about you.
Right.
Yep.
The thing you did wasn't fair.
The thing about 8s, and it may be their thing that see, so much of terminology comes out of behavior. So I have seen 8s put on the hat where they embrace vengeance and make it as visceral as possible for the sake of myself and the people around me, so that you know that you're not coming into my space anymore. Like that is a gear for some eights. And I think that characteristic in some eights gets into the literature, and then it becomes, look, they have a they have a desire to reshape situations in these very aggressive ways. But I think you're exposing the nuance, or even the primary of what's underneath all of that. That's just not their gear. That's unless they really get pushed into that space. It's
right.
Rare. Yeah.
It's like when people talk about ones, and ones are so angry all the time, and you better watch out because ones are going to be angry. That's so rare from a one to get that level of anger directed at you.
Correct.
I feel like it's the same for eights. Really, what eights are walking around doing most of the time is just looking for ways to feel challenged in their life, right? They're not looking for ways to fight you, right? Or like be angry all the time, or be aggressive, I guess, right? Yeah. That's such a rare gear for them.
They have a desire to not have their will imposed.
Right.
But this is what I want to do in the world. I'm doing it. Don't get in my way.
Go. Right. Yeah, exactly.
This is my space.
Hop on board if you'd like.
For sevens, there is a desire to reshape people and situations in a very optimistic Peter Pan, let's get out of here kind of way. So, but again, aggressive is kind of a strange characterization of that. It's like the invitational joy that comes at you. It was okay, aggressive.
Yeah.
But it is saying, look, I don't think your feelings matter. You're in a place of stuckedness. Let's get out. I don't care. All these terrible things happened to you in the past.
Yeah.
I don't care. Let's move.
Yeah.
That I think is true.
I've had sevens tell me, this is actually the same seven from earlier. He said on his interview, actually, he was like, I know that this doesn't work for other people. Well, he said, I've had to learn that this doesn't work for other people, which is feeling repression again. But he said, when I'm sad, I can literally just like look around and be like, I don't want to be sad right now. I can just like try not being sad. And then he's like, and it works every time. And think about how disconnected from your feelings you have to be for that to work for you, right? And think about how disconnected you have to be from someone else's feelings to feel like that will work for them as well, right? He said he's learned that does not work. But think about how disjointed and free flow, and so far away you must assume feelings are for everybody to suggest that as a solution, right? Oh, just don't feel them. Okay, thanks. Got it. Right? That's so feeling repressed. The reshaping into just positive, right?
Just because I have this gear, I suppose I know exactly what it feels like to say, hey, we should move. It feels like if you're outside and you're sitting on a park bench and it's 10 degrees outside and you look over and you're like, are you cold? I'm cold. We should go inside.
Yeah.
Why would we want to be cold?
Yeah.
And the person goes, yeah, why would we want to be cold? Unless you really value the cold, there's no reason to stay in the cold.
Yeah.
But that's how the feelings feel. It's like, we're gonna sit here for a while? Like,
why?
Yeah.
I think that would be a good metaphor if feelings didn't come back anyways. Like the temperature, you can just leave and you never have to go sit in 10 degree ever again. That's not how feelings work. They will come back at some point, right? Or your body's going to start hurting for a reason you don't know why, right? They will come back. So it's the only choice you're making is whether or not to feel them now. But it feels like the choice you're making is whether or not to feel them ever. But that's not really true.
See, that's wisdom.
Everybody listen to me.
That's like telling me that I need to work out. No, go inside for coffee. Yeah. S'mores. I want a brownie.
Yeah.
That I can reshape people. Grab my hand. Neverland is around the corner.
And I think what's important to mention about the 7 too is they're reshaping it for them. It's important to say about all these numbers, but I think for 7s, people can feel like the seven's doing it so that we all feel better, right? It's all the seven's reshaping it so that they feel better. They also want you to feel better so that no one feels bad around them, right? Because they don't want to have to deal with it. But sevens are reshaping it for them. They're reshaping their environment into something positive. They're not doing it for you, right? So again, feeling repression.
It would make them more happy if somebody came along with them.
Right, great, yeah.
Oftentimes.
Yeah. I don't want you to feel sad, but I don't want you to feel sad so that I don't have a sad person around me. And I care about you and I don't want you to feel sad. But there's also this part of, it's not because I'm like obligated to your feelings and I want to fix them for you.
People can amplify joy. So if you can get there with me, real similar to the threes, I think. If you can get there with me and we can be successful, like stand up and let's do the work together. It's way easier to do the work for the three and accomplish the ends with more people. So too with the sevens, if we can inspire delight in more people, more delight.
Right. Great. Yep.
Yes.
Agreed.
To land on threes here, because we hit them but didn't hit them, but the aggression as I can bend reality to my will comes out, I think, in terms of how I'm seeing the types here, and that the term aggressive may be supplemental in this space, that the 3, 7, 8s actually look at the world, say, this is what I want, and then they go.
Yeah.
And they think they can bend the world to their will. I think that's right.
Yeah. And because a lot of the world is reactive or withdrawn, guess what? It does bend a lot of the time. It does bend.
Need to push a little
Y'all
bit.
bend.
Y'all.
You bend. So I think that fuels the delusion, right? Of this actually works. I can bend the world to my will, because people do.
That's fun. That builds the second or the third of our terms would be assertive. And I feel like it builds on that.
Yeah, I think it's the same.
So I recall real early on when we were doing our study out of Stabile's work, aggressive being pushed back against, especially by threes. And I don't remember who was bringing up assertive, but I know it became part of our lexicon very early as a supplemental word to kind of take the sting off of aggressive and say, no, you're just asserting yourself. Yeah. So what do you think about assertive?
I think assertive, kind of what you just said, it's aggressive, but a little less mean.
Yeah. But
all my critiques are the same. I don't think it brings up feeling repression in a way that it should. Assertive. So the definition of assertive, let's read it. Having or showing a confident and forceful personality. So I would say that's certainly true for all of these numbers, and it's not the whole thing.
There's a lot. Let me push into this for a second. There's a lot of self-pres 3, 7s, and 8s who I don't think come across that way.
Mm-hmm.
Who always are kind of a little baffling to me.
Yeah.
That kind of, and I think challenge this. So my child is a self-pres 8. I don't think that would be a good description of them.
Right.
As it were.
Right. It's just I forget which one we said in our reactive conversation where we were like, that's all true, and it's also just part of it. I forget which word we said that about, but that's how I feel about assertive. Like,
dependent is what we said.
Dependent, yeah. Sure.
Yeah, it can be supplemental again.
Yeah. But it's supplemental. And again, I think 1s can come across as assertive. I think some 6s can come across as assertive. I think 2s can come across as assertive sometimes.
Absolutely.
So I don't think it's true only for 3, 7, and 8s.
I mean, the only type that may not come across as assertive as a just real strong descriptor are 9s.
Yeah.
I think 4s and 5s can come across as assertive.
Yeah, my father, good Lord, can come across as assertive. He's a 5. When he knows what he's talking about, he's absolutely assertive, right? So,
correct.
Yeah, I just don't. I think that's just a description of most people when they're in their element, I guess I would say. Right?
Yep. In good news, assertive, to my knowledge, I couldn't find it really in print. So
good, because it's bad.
just the conversation taking place in Stabile camp, especially from how Shewee's doing stuff, really an elevating independent is a very welcome movement forward in terminology. And independence is going to bring into play a lot of the ideas that need to be there to describe the stance. So when you hear independent, what do you see with 3, 7s, and 8s?
I think that this is the thing that brings in the feeling repression. When I see independent, what I see is just a person standing on their own, and everything else is dark or quiet or like not like nothing else is affecting the decision they're about to make except for themselves. And that's, I think, what it actually feels like to be in this stance is I have something I want. How am I going to go get it? And it's all from you, right? I'm not basing that off of what other people feel. I'm not basing that off of what other people want. It's based off of what I think and what I want, right? So I love independent. And the other reason I love independent is because here's my little gripe. I'm going to be a little gripey for the next 2 minutes against reactive people. I'm so sorry.
Do it.
I think if we use the word against or aggressive or assertive, it allows specifically reactive types, not as much withdrawn, but maybe a little bit, to not realize that what we're really doing is just not thinking about you. And I think using the word independent invites reactive types to realize that a lot of this work is on their side of the fence, right? You thinking that I'm aggressive or mean or assertive or all the things, some of that is your work to do, right? Because you are reactive. All I'm doing is not basing anything off of you, which can be mean sometimes, right? It can be mean sometimes. It's not mean all the time. So I love it for independent people. I also love it for what it tells everyone else about what we're really doing. Those are my thoughts.
There's a scene in the Fantastic Bear TV show, in which I think the primary character is a 1. Lots of self-criticism going on and lots of perfectionism that kind of gets out of control. He has a teacher and mentor from his past who I think comes across as, at the very least, an independent type. Mm-hmm. And they have the very conversation we've been talking about, where the one comes to him, he finally gets to challenge him, gets to say something hard to his face. And the independent teacher looks at him, he says something to the extent of, "You've been thinking about this a lot." Yeah. I haven't been thinking about you at all. And it's just levels the man on one front, and on a secondary front, it's a super healthy for him to hear. Yeah. Yeah. That like, why are you focused on this person over here and both what they've done and their opinions of you moving forward? The opposite would be true on the 3, 7s, and 8s in terms of self-assessment is done from an independent space at some level there. Talk about how that works with 3s, because obviously 3s are trying to win others' attention. So we brought this up a little bit last time in terms of, does that not make them dependent at some level?
So I'm going to bring back the idea of this is something that's kind of hard to explain. And I have to make it sound so horrible to like try to explain it. Excuse me. So I'm going to use like the word soul. I know people have different thoughts about souls and all things, but what 3s care about is your opinion of them. They only care about you to the depth where it stops affecting them, right? Anything past that depth, so what you want, what you think, the beauty that you see in life, your soul, right? Threes don't care about that, right? Or we don't see it. We care about it if we love you, right? If you're our sister, our brother, our mother, yes, we care about it. But when we're just walking through the world, we care about you only to the depth that it affects us. We do not care about anything past that. So yes, we are dependent on this outer layer of you that we hope likes us, right? But what I'm actually also doing, I'm using my own tools and my own thoughts and what I want to get your good opinion of me. There is a reactiveness and like an obligation that I see in 1, 2s, and 6s that I just don't feel, and I don't really know how to talk about that. What do you think about what I'm saying?
There's a difference between somebody's opinion and somebody's inner life.
Yeah. Yeah.
The feeling repression I hear is here. It's like, because feelings come last for the 3 themselves, they're not elevating those as primary. The 4 is elevating those as primary. The 2 is elevating those as primary. 3 is not. Yeah. So when in seeking attention, it's not about that element. It's going to be about what's the tangible, solid, achievable thing that I can take hold of, that fills me with a sense of self-worth, validation, justifies my work, and reminds me that I have what it takes.
Yeah.
It's really less, what I hear there is it's really less about the person in front of you. It's really more about the internal issues that 3s can come to the world with in terms of establishing their own value. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's again, the door that you walk through. It's moving from that door into spaces where you then do the unproductive feeling work. But you're not alone. 7s and 8s are also gonna have issues. Do you want to say anything more on 3s?
I also think that 3s do have a gear where we can use justification or like thinking we're better than somebody to convince ourselves that we don't actually need your opinion anymore. Right? So, like, if your opinion is getting in the way of what I want, I do think 3s have a gear where they can convince themselves, oh, I don't need that anymore. Right? It might be hard. It might not be. I think that person's level of authority in your life makes it a lot harder. Like, if your boss feels one way versus someone underneath you, like your employee, that's different. But I do think we have a space we can get into where you're like, oh, I actually think you're stupid and ugly and all the things. And so actually I don't care about what you think about me. Right? Whereas I don't know if that's really that possible for like a 1, 2, or 6. Right?
Yes.
So
I brought up this exact part of our conversation from last time up to Kelly. Kelly is also in the room. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
She can double check me on this. Of like, I wanted to say, if somebody doesn't give you the attention, affection, props that you're searching for, the 3 can easily diminish in their minds and vocabulary the standing of the person in front of them, and that lessens their criticism. So if I can just say, look, this person is flawed because of X, Y, and Z, therefore their opinion of me is lessened, that's a move. She rightly pointed out that can be a move for 3s, but another move is that the 3 doubles down and says, no, that person's opinion actually is valuable. Yeah. I know it's valuable, and therefore it's a challenge to work even harder for
Agreed. It. And I think a lot of things inform what side of that you fall on, right? Like do I have to keep interacting with this person, right? How important are they? I already mentioned the authority, right? Yeah. Are other people going to notice that? Are other people going to react badly to me diminishing them? Like, there's a lot of things, right, that affect it. The other thing I want to say about the first half where we do this diminishing thing, I just want to connect it back to, like, that's part of, I think, how we shape the world. Like, we shape the people around us, right, into worthy or not worthy, right, good or bad. Yeah. Like, we shape what we think you are. I think that's part of it.
Love that. I think that's right. The reframing and bending reality to serve your purposes feels like that's the gear here. And like I've heard TJ countless times say that he just doesn't understand this about the threes in his life, that's a move that they can make.
Yeah. I'm laughing. Yeah.
You should.
I think my 9 sister has told me that as not so many words, but I think she said that same thing before.
It's a fantastic superpower on one front. It can get you in trouble on another.
Absolutely.
So is the way of the Enneagram right there. But
right.
By the way, since we're looking for book titles for you here 2 or 3 years out, 4 years out, so horrible. That could be one of the first options.
That's a good one.
So horrible. My adventures with the Enneagram is at least.
It was all bad.
on the whiteboard.
My adventures in Enneagram. That's funny.
Confessions of an Enneagram expert.
Very mid 2000s.
It is. It does feel a little dated. So
it's good.
But some things have, longevity. Who knows?
They're coming back. Y2K is back.
Y2 is it?
It is. It's back. Yes. Look at 14-year-olds.
Our computers are going to crash?
Yes. No, the fashion of like Y2K fashion is back.
When I hear Y2K, it was about all of our computers crashing at the same moment.
No, the fashion.
Like it was you think that conspiracy theory, like you can't understand how big that was.
Well, I heard this thing. I don't know if this is true because I was 2. Yeah. I was 1. But I heard that that actually kind of was true. It was going to happen, but just the computer people put in so much work behind the scenes that it didn't happen. But it wasn't so much a conspiracy theory. It was like, oh shoot, we didn't think about this. And they put in all this work. And then because it didn't happen, because they worked so hard, then people thought it was a conspiracy theory. But it actually
that's fair.
It actually could have happened. Maybe. I read that in one place on the internet. I don't know if that's true.
To be honest, that could be true. And also you should watch Office Space because not only is it a top 5 comedy ever, but it's about this.
We love Office Space. It's so good.
You love the smart Office Space. Perfect. 7s, independence. The elevation again of feeling repression. It strikes me here that there is a standing independently from one's feelings, but specifically not wanting, again, to get your toe in the dark emotions. And so you're independent, you're making a choice. Do I want to go back out in the freezing cold, as was kind of hinted at before, or do I want to go somewhere else? I'm independent of both these feelings. Yeah. You know which one I prefer? I prefer happy space.
Yeah.
And that's what I see here with independent.
I think 7s are, one of the easiest to see, especially the word independent, because they just don't follow you anywhere unless it's fun and they've made the decision to follow you, right? But 7s are really not obligated to do anything that they don't want to do or feel anything they don't want to feel, and you cannot make them. And that's it for me. I don't even feel the need to say anything else. I think it's so clear that 7s are independent. They're doing what they want to do.
Can I tell you one of the worst moments of my life with a 7? It's actually kind of funny. So I used to do church work. I go to this retreat. The retreat's in this beautiful beachfront kind of space they rented. And at the end is this 3-day conference. The gentleman who I just love the hell out of, respect as an author, I really appreciated, had a communion time, which he served each of the people that had come. It was only 30 or 40 of us. I ended up kind of pausing till the end. I think I was the last person to go up. And after he gave each of us communion, he gave everybody a hug. Well, he goes to give me a hug, and I go to give him a hug, and I uppercut the communion goblet across the room, and all this wine went all over these white drapes. And in a very nice, again, beachfront California space, so you can. They had spent some money, and of course, it was a kind of a holy somber, and I did this. I go, oh fuck! fuck. and then I sat down. Now, he moved on, didn't say one word about what just happened.
Oh my God.
But he also didn't clean up. And it's also the case that I got billed for the drapes. Rightly so. That I am. I took responsibility for this.
That is crazy.
Drapes. But the quick pivot toward, that happened.
Anyways, yeah.
Anyway, the independence of just standing apart.
And like not needing to make you feel better. It does not occur to them that it might be their job to make you feel better. That's a big thing with sevens, I think. Like to them, it doesn't, the rest of us are like, oh my God, like I can't believe. And the seven is like, that was crazy. But it's obviously that's not my job. So I'm not going to go. Next? Yeah, right. It's not my job to go comfort that guy.
It's not my job.
Yeah.
Is independence.
Yes. Yeah. And the rest of us, it makes you feel so horrible if you're on the receiving end, right? But if you are the person doing the independence, it doesn't feel like anything, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like anything. It's just like, oh, that was crazy.
By its nature, it doesn't feel like anything because you're repressing your feeling.
Right, exactly.
Center.
Right.
That's it. Eights. Independence.
I'm going to come to the defensive eights a little bit here. I think people say that they understand that eights are independent, but they do not act like it because people get upset about the eights in their life all the time, I think.
Yep. And
that's happening because you're not realizing that they're independent. You think that they're making decisions based off of you, and they're not. Mm-hmm. So if we say that 3, 7, and 8s are independent, that has to also apply to 8s. We also have to allow 8s the room to be understood as independent numbers, which is harder because they're not as charismatic as 3s or 7s. I think 3s and 7s make up for being independent by being charismatic. 8s don't. They don't have that. They don't have the people skills to go along with it, so people get real mad at them. But it's the same thing. They're not thinking about you. They're not thinking about you, right? Good or bad. Good or bad. They're not thinking about you in a good way. They're also not thinking about you in a bad way, right? They're not trying to chase you down to make you feel horrible, right? Or like doing things against you because they hate you. They're not thinking about you.
Super unfortunate for 8s that they have such weight and gravity. I assume often unconscious and not necessarily controlled.
Yeah.
But if they are in a space and doing work, they just have gravity. Yeah. And especially as you were saying, for the 1s, 2s, and 6s among us, that gravity just is really hard to not react to.
Exactly.
And even for others. Pair that with the fact that I'm not thinking about you at all.
Truly, 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 I'm not thinking about you. Yeah. Right. I think Joey Schewee said that 30 times in the last cohort we were together because we were talking a lot about it. And she just kept repeating, I'm not thinking about you.
That's a good juxtaposition here.
Yeah. And it's also like, I don't have the time for you to sit and like be uncomfortable in this, right? That's why she'll say I use the word independent because I can't use aggressive because then we have to do this whole thing about how 3s and 7s don't like being called aggressive. If I just say independent, everybody's on board, right? So it's also that. Yeah. Like it's what's going to get us to the place I want us to be the fastest.
But there's like, I know that I feel this, and I assume you feel this, it's that she's there may be an expectation there. Oh, you're going to do things the way your mom did, and she's just not giving you that.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah.
And that's important to name in terms of like her going, hey, seriously, look, that's not my gear.
Yeah, no.
You know,
no.
as it were. Yeah. Which is helpful.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing for me on independent, and I wanted to bring this in for reactive, but I forgot, is the time orientation. I think really works with independent. Part of future problem solving is that the future hasn't happened yet. Mm-hmm. And so you have to stand independent from reality.
There. Yeah.
There's no emotions there. Nothing has happened, but that's where your tools are. Mm-hmm. And so how else could you be in the world except for independent? Because that's where you're engaging next Wednesday.
Yeah. When it's also like all the things happening right now, I've already thought about. and I've already solved, and I'm moving on, right?
Or solved what's important.
I solved what's important. I'm moving on. I solved what's important today, yesterday.
For the goals that you have.
And because I'm feeling repressed, I don't have to slow down and say, oh, but now there's all these feelings to react to, right? That's what 1s, 2s, and 6s are doing. Like 6s are planners, but then when something is actually happening, they're slowing down and they're reacting to the feelings and the thoughts that are happening right now, right?
Correct.
So there is this slow down to be in the present moment. 3, 7, and 8s do not do that because they do not feel the need to react to your feelings, right? So we're constantly in the future. We do not ever have to come back to the present because we don't feel like we need to react to what's going on in the present, which is not true, but that's how we feel, right? Not healthy, I guess I should say. But
well, it's how you're getting what you want.
Right.
The forward looking of the 6 comes out of their center. So being part of the head triad, they are envisioning what might get them in the future, but they're not responding to what might get them in the future. They're responding right now.
Right.
And that's why it's coming out of their mouth reactively
Right.
as, hey, have we considered this? Have we
Right.
considered this? Have
Right.
we considered this?
Exactly.
That would be a good distinction between the two. Independent gets the big green check mark.
Check. All the A's. They all suck. Aggressive, assertive, against. Bad. Independent, good.
All the A's. I think this is a very helpful conversation, and I like the tone of it. It felt in speaking about emotional repression, it felt very much empathetic and emotional in terms of dialoguing through that. Something I would love to land here, because we didn't talk about this last time, but you brought it up at the beginning. This is one of the true places to do work. If you get into Enneagram, you find your type. Like, what are some of the first things to consider?
Your repressed center.
Look.
Yeah.
Just look at your repressed center and do invoke the habits that force you to get into that center. All of us have 3 centers: head, heart, and gut, head, heart, and body. What are the habits you habitually employ to get you into that center and get you really processing the world there? That can be a great place of balancing.
Yeah. And I think what I would say about here, I think bringing up each repressed center feels different depending on what the center is. So I think bringing up, if you're doing repressed, bringing up your doing feels hard and like scary, maybe is a word I would use, maybe especially for 9s. I think 1, 2s, and 6s bringing up thinking is, I also want to use the word hard, but like, what word do I want to use? Bringing up thinking feels selfish, I imagine, as well. That's a word I hear a lot because it makes you feel like you are not reacting in the way you should, right? You feel obligated to do things or to feel things, and now you're not, and that feels selfish. And something I want to say to 3, 7, and 8s is bringing up feeling is going to feel boring and slow. And I wish it feels like work in the sense that like, yeah, it's hard, but I wish it felt more like work, right? Because then at least you could like do something with it. But feelings are just meant to be felt and nothing else. That's what we need to learn. They're not meant to be like translated into anything. And so you will know that you are doing the work, 3, 7, and 8s, when your life feels a little more boring and a little slower and a little more frustrating than you want it to be because you want to be moving faster. That's how you're going to know that you're doing this, that you're starting to do this. It's not going to feel scary or like selfish or all these other things that other people talk about. It's just going to feel slow. At least for me is the word I would use. So I think it feels different to bring up feeling. And I just think we all hate going slow and like letting ourselves be affected by what other people want from us, right? It's just going to feel blech like that. But that's a good sign. It gets better after that.
invitation, it seems to me, it's opening up the panoramic, multicolored dimensions of human experience. And so it doesn't feel comfortable at first because you're so used to targeting blue and everything's blue and we're going for blue. But you invite the other colors and it may hurt your eyes for a minute, but getting to love and engage and appreciate and allow to be part of your very self and self-understanding, those elements brings out the richness of the human experience. And it seems to me a lot of 3, 7s, and 8s I see who are mature know this.
Yeah.
And actually have gotten to that spot where they, have really done business there.
Yeah. You know the metaphor I want to use? In space movies when people go into like hyperdrive and all the stars around them just become like blurred colors. That's the metaphor I want to use. Normally we're just going through and everything's a blur, but we're getting where we want to really, really quickly and better than everybody else and like all the things, right? But when you slow down, at first it feels so boring because you're like, holy crap, I'm not even going anywhere right now. Like it's going to take me so long to do what I want to do. But then you look around and you're like, oh, all those things were like these beautiful stars the whole time. And you can slow down and you can appreciate the shape and the color and that they're not just all, like you said, these like blurry blue and white lines. Like some of them burn red, some of them burn yellow, like all these colors. And that is where life really is, right? That's what life really looks like. That's what those stars really look like. We were just moving too fast to see it. But you're always going to want to go faster. Always. You're always going to want to go back to going faster. You just have to convince yourself that, or like learn, right, that this is how life is actually supposed to be. So.
The singular Katie Whitlock. So horrible, coming out 2030. Check your local Barnes & Noble.
If books are even still a thing by then, we'll see.
And I'm Jeff Cook.
Who knows? We might burn them by then. I don't know.
And by we, I mean...
the government.
Those other people.
Who knows? Whatever.
Funny.